Ooh, 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 ooh. Mm, 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 mm. Hello, 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 hello. I don't know how this YouTube live stuff works yet, and I've only done one video, but um, I didn't go back and check on it. I only focused on what Facebook was my only social media page for a long time. I'm an old man. And then I got Instagram and then TikTok. There's my rocks I'm looking for. I got more. Yep. So what we're doing with our dogs is really exciting. Sammie was a stray, walked up on my property um, about a year and a half back, 2 years ago now, and she turned into being the most impressive pet I'd ever had. I'm a traumatic brain injury survivor, and I had recently, this last 5 years, my life took a turnaround, like a miraculous, wild turnaround. Unbelievable stuff. Before the 5 years, I went through 10 years of hell. Oops, I left the water on. Now that, my friends, I didn't overfill it at all. That's from me pouring that water bucket out. Look at that. Completely full. Timer. This is so you don't blow your water hose up in Mississippi. There we go. I should totally just let you hear my voice. I was told by my cousin that I had a radio, a face for radio, and I'm much obliged to show you these flowers instead. Anyhow, because of my recovery from traumatic brain injuries that had already, the degenerative part of the brain disease called CTE had really taken its toll on my head. My life was not my own anymore. And I had a car accident in '08 that uh, fractured my skull in several places. And after that, um, suicide I blacked out while striping a parking lot. I was a parking lot maintenance and striping business. And it's a really important part of the construction job because you're the last person on the site and you're selling the job. I'm about ready to take my fuel pump off this Mercedes. Um, oh, and I blacked out and I painted it the wrong way. I'd had my superintendent and I already went through all the changes that needed to be done. And so one moment, this had been happening for a while. I black out like right in the middle of something, and I've come to 3 months later. I've come to a week later. I've come to 6 hours later, like this story. But after my car accident, I didn't realize this had been happening to me for so long. I had a lot of journals written explaining this stuff to me, and I had a lot of songs written about it. I hid that stuff in cryptically. And so when the liar, this legion of suicide, came at me and said, "This is going to kill your mom. You're going to kill your mom." That's what had me to believing that this accident that I was in this car, my son, I had this huge impression that my son was to pick up where I didn't finish, and that I had to have a son before I was 33 and a half years old. And I had this whole thing about Jesus involved in it. Everyone thought I was nuts, though. Well, at that time, I had a head-on collision, and my son was in the car with me. He survived without, they thought, any injuries. Ultimately, he had a fractured femur. It was a hairline fracture, and they missed it in the X-rays. But after that accident, I was different again, and like I said, that lying spirit of suicide had me to believe that I was going to hurt my mom, and it could have happened. I was doing things that were way out of my character, way across my boundaries of morals. I was blacking out and doing things that I wouldn't do, and that had been happening to me for my mid-20s and started in my 20s, and I had a lot of head injuries, and just what I experienced over, now I'm 50. What I experienced over that amount of time, I attempted to take my life. That time, due to believing the fact that I was going to hurt somebody I loved, and in this sense, it said I was to believe that I was going to kill someone I loved. My actions would have just taken my mother and broken her heart and killed her. And I've experienced this all through my life. And so I attempted to take my life as a sacrifice. I didn't want to hurt anybody, and I knew I was capable of it because something was taking me, and I was doing things that that are beyond me. I wouldn't do something like that. And sadly, I tried to take my life. What not so sadly is, I'm a success at everything I do. I don't quit. I don't fail. So I just go until I learn whatever I got to learn to get what I needed to get done. I accomplish it. I attempted in that one sitting through a speedball, which is cocaine and heroin, the real kind, not what kids are doing with meth and stuff. If you're under 18, please step out of here. Let me tell this story right. So first of all, I sat down for a month or two, maybe 3, and I wrote a letter to my son, who was 18 months old at that time, explaining to him why I was doing what I was doing and how it was better. And it wasn't a pitiful, depressed out deal. It was I knew something had fractured in my skull. I knew something was off inside my head, and that I was blacking out and doing stuff that wasn't like my character, and I could hurt anybody. And hurting my son or my daughter or my mom or my dad or someone I loved, that kind of attitude and that kind of I had PTSD on a pretty big scale because at 15 I got jumped by 3 men and a knife. And I was knocked unconscious and woke up with a police officer talking to me. Come here, I need you. And from that, I just went on to more and more fights and more violence, and it changed who I was as a young man and turned me into quite a character. One that went from a Pentecostal preacher and youth pastor to a live rock and roll artist, singing and screaming and wild as all get out on stage. Took me through a lot of changes in my life. And that brought me to this Sammie story and these puppies. As crazy as my life got, and as many people as I ran away, the symptoms that caused that to happen still are in my life. Those injuries that I had then are still injuries I have today. I'm gonna have this camera down in just a second, y'all, and the wind out of here. But what I have to help me deal with it, the tools I have to help me function better, the food I eat that helps fuel the right healing in my body and my brain. You know, having fat in your diet, the right kind of fat, so important for your brain to work properly. The amount of water you drink, all this stuff. But these dogs, they make a connection with you that no one else can have. They'll be the most connected to you than even your own wife. The dogs have a sense of wellness and how they're made for this. They were a gift. God was giving me a gift when He gave me Sammie, and He knew the only way I could truly appreciate and show Him how much I appreciated his giving me that dog, having that dog walk up on my property. Because I'm one of those that believe God is all powerful, almighty, and He knows all, and He's involved in everything in my life. All good things come from above, the Bible says. So those dogs down there came from heaven to me, a gift from God. And the only thing that could make me greater joy is to be able to give one of God's blessings to me, to someone that needs it like myself. And they're going to get the most incredible friend they've ever had. In the hardest of times, they're going to be able to convey this connection that keeps a person that's alone in a constant state for suicide to mess with. And this is going to stop suicide one dog at a time for sure. I'm going to get under here and take this fuel pump off. This is what I've been doing, filming documentary. I don't know if it'll let me do this. Okay, how do I unlock orientation?